I'm doing a video.
Yeah, yeah. We can hear you great. First of all, I wanted to apologize for not realizing that you were the real Jack.
Oh, yeah, I thought you just don't like me or something.
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. Um, so yeah. So I realized watching another stream from within our community earlier tonight where they were talking about your project, and actually they were on your Twitter, and I realized, and I was like, oh, that is actually the real Jack. So so then I sent you that. So then I sent you that apology. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Well, you're the real Tangent. I mean, you're a hero in my book. You stood up to Richard, and that just one joke is was epic. So
Thanks, man. Thank you. You're talking about the when I said just one.
just one. Yeah, it was about the validator control on PulseChain.
So thanks, and so one of the co-hosts on a show that we do on Tuesday nights here, Jexa, mentioned your project on the stream that we did most recently, and but he didn't give us a heap of information about it. He just gave us the broadest of context. Do you want to explain what it's about and what your mission statement is?
Yeah, sure. So I actually saw that stream recorded. Somebody showed it to me, and I think you guys did a pretty good job discussing it. But basically, what the project is, it resets the level for what Satoshi wanted to do with Bitcoin, making the peer-to-peer cash work. And what I realized is there aren't that many projects out there, with Ethereum being obviously such a sandbox, such a playground that allows you to build projects, develop anything that you can mint tokens that are not worth anything, and then you use them to raise money, whether you call it an investment or a sacrifice or whatever. It doesn't matter. Point is that when Bitcoin came about, there was it didn't exist. It was worth zero, and there was no community. So community formed, mined the Bitcoin out of nothing, and gave it value. And so I thought, in this bear market, it's probably a good idea to do something like this, in a very similar fashion. So the protocol on Ethereum is just 400 lines of code, just a little bit of algebra that incentivize people to get more people aboard, but it has the difficulty built in. So every day the difficulty increases by less than 0.1% to begin with. It's like really 0.03% first every day. And then it goes to 0.1%, then it goes to 1%, and eventually in about 8 years, the emissions for Zen go basically to nothing, and it settles at about 2% inflation rate. And that's it. There's no pre-mine, pre-mint of any kind. There's no controlling interest. There's no admin keys. The code is open source. It lives on blockchain. It belongs to, the crypto community. It doesn't really belong to the foundation team. It doesn't belong to me. I can't stop it. I can only talk about it. And the underlying ethos was that people should really learn the first principles of crypto, which is self-custody, transparency, trust through consensus, counterparty risk resistance, as well as censorship resistance. Pretty much everything what we love about crypto and blockchain is part of that protocol that we're trying to launch. And again, the group that I'm participating with have no backdoors, and there's no tokens out there that we have. So we all start with zero. We're going to be participating too. And that's what we call a fair launch. So this is the crypto that launches fairly, and everybody's starting together. And ultimately, if you take an abstract view, this is kind of like an ICO, or initial coin offering, or initial token offering, or whatever you call it. However, it isn't done by one particular organization. It's literally done by the community itself. And I firmly believe that the value that the token or any crypto that has is not in its price, but in its community behind it, because that's what ultimately drives the price. But people kind of think about it in reverse. Like, people are attracted to price moves and to buying the dip, selling the top, and trying not to buy the top, and not uh, and not to sell the dip, right? So in this case, I think the underlying ethos is really just to build the largest community out there. We're talking about 100 million wallets, maybe more, and ultimately give this new crypto a utility. And utility will come similarly how Dogecoin gained its utility. So Dogecoin has 5 million wallets, and it's very accessible to the public. I mean, it does have some whales and stuff like that. So with a fair launch and not really dropping it onto the people suddenly, but actually preparing and evangelizing the project and giving people plenty of time to learn about it, we're thinking we can have a parallel creation of this new crypto, so that everybody has a chance to be a whale or be a shrimp, be a dolphin, doesn't matter what, right? Ultimately, it's all about the encouragement of people getting into crypto and learning about it. So, and that's really exciting, because the barrier to entry is very, very low. So that's what it is in 1,000 words or less.
That is awesome, and I certainly would recommend that you remove the ICO analogy or reference from your pitch in future, because that has some seriously negative connotations.
Yeah,
but
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
That there's no VCs, no team tokens. You know, one of the questions that I ask people when I'm interviewing projects is, where is the con? Like, how are you monetizing this? Is this about enriching founders, or is this about actually progressing the crypto space and creating innovation within the space? So you guys get sort of automatic checkbox or automatic points for not having team allocations, not having VC distribution, not having pre-mines, pre-sales, and any of those sorts of things. And yeah. So that does sound good. Did you want to? Was there anything else? Was there anything else more that you wanted to expand on? Something that I thought was interesting when you started talking about it was when you said that you've thought about Bitcoin and tried to tweak some of those parameters to what you think would be better. Did the team think deeply about, you know, looking at the over a decade that Bitcoin has existed, and sort of assessed what could have been improved? Was that part of the process?
Yeah, basically, I think so. Bitcoin suffered from it suffered greatly from being the first cryptocurrency out there, and the onboarding of people basically was, I would say, it was an exponential curve, but it had a lot of flatness for the first 3 or 4 years, where it was basically sitting around $100, maybe $200, and it was fluctuating right there. And then all of a sudden, with the abundance of liquidity, it started to pump, and there were a lot of products, financial products, created to pump Bitcoin. So when that happened, the incentives for miners and ASIC developers was just so great. So literally, to create a lot of gear that was no longer reachable by regular people, because what you can do is you can borrow $500 million, send the $500 million to China, get all the gear, lease a data center for 3 years and start mining, and then you're a de facto whale, and you're not even using your own money, but you're trading and selling Bitcoin to finance this sort of operation. So the regular normal person is ejected from the ability to create more of it and to secure the blockchain too. So what happens is that Bitcoin became something, because of the price fluctuation, Bitcoin became something that you hodl, you do not ever sell, and that's reduced the crypto adoption of Bitcoin. It actually lowered the bar for people using it to buy pizza or whatever, right? And in my day, when I was mining Bitcoin in 2011, I bought the pizza and the burgers and the sandwiches, gave it away to friends, like maybe 100 times, right? I gave it most of it away just because I didn't think it was, something that I wanted to hold on to. I was just really just reading the paper and thinking, okay, it's an exchange of value. And now basically nobody's really doing it because everybody wants to make mad gains, right? And everybody's fixated on mad gains. But in a 10-mile view, that makes crypto somewhat unreachable to the regular public because it's kind of being exclusive to the holder. Like the holder doesn't want to get rid of it. So with Zen, we thought if we make the barrier to entry for minting really low, it doesn't really matter how many coins or tokens will be created. What matters is that how many people are in the community. And right now, thinking about it, if we can have 100 million wallets or if we can reach 100 million people, then the adoption of crypto will improve first and foremost. So I know we all like Hex here and Hedron and all that, and a lot of us hold that. So if we bring 100 to 200 million people into the crypto space, what do you think will happen to Hex and to Hedron? It will get more liquidity because there will be more people in the space. So whether you're holding Ethereum or Bitcoin or anything, so if our goal is achieved and the crypto space just increases in volume of people, then everybody wins. Absolutely everybody. So that is one of the goals too.
So I agree with you that in terms of general adoption of crypto and also adoption of a specific crypto like your coin, in terms of more broad adoption, they are always positive things. However, this is quite an ambitious goal, and it has been attempted in the past, or at least claimed to be attempted by projects in the past. And one of the so there's several issues or hurdles or challenges, whether they're technical or not, in terms of getting this even distribution throughout the world. So let's say, to start off with an example or a question, say, is the contract already deployed on Ethereum? It was deployed pre-fork to be able to claim? Is that right?
It's not deployed on Ethereum. It's deployed on Ethereum testnet, specifically Goerli, which is the Ethereum 2.
Oh, okay. So sorry about that. So the contract doesn't exist. So that also means, okay, that changes some of my questions slightly, because that means it didn't get forked across any ETH forks that have occurred recently. But we'll still talk about that a little bit. But so let's just look at Ethereum, where the gas fees to us may seem quite inexpensive, but someone in a third world country, $1 or $2 could be like a day's wages or a week's wages or something like that. And so is that something that you guys have considered, and something that causes a bit of a problem in terms of how just the gas fee alone could actually exclude some people, like the poorest of the world, out of being involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two things to say about it. So one is the world is technically not fair, and it is very difficult to make it fair. Like, for example, if Zen project did not exist and there was only one cryptocurrency out there, the amount of economic energy so diverse across the world, nobody will be able to get something of equal value with less dollars. That's just a fact. Like, somebody can afford to buy 1 Bitcoin, somebody can afford to buy 10 Bitcoins, right? Just depends on where they are. So we cannot control the economic fairness of what the people have in their pocket. However, we can control at least the financial setup. So there's no OA, there's no pre-mine, and there's no controlling financial group in that. So that immediately what makes it separate. Now, the second thing to say is that Zen will exist on Polygon, which is the Matic network. It will exist on PulseChain, obviously. It will exist on many others that are Ethereum compatible that have very, 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 very low fees. Now, immediately, the question comes, okay, well, if we can mint or allow a lot more people to mint or create Zen on, let's say, Binance, which is cheaper, what will be the value of Zen across all networks? Well, I would say definitely Ethereum mainnet will have the most value. We do not anticipate bridging between the networks. We do anticipate wrapping, however. So, for example, Zen created on Ethereum mainnet can be wrapped and transferred to Binance and be used as a token of exchange there. Now, Binance will have its own small b XEN token that people can mint and learn about first principles. Now, what we're trying to achieve partly is have Zen to be an educational crypto, where if you're on Binance and you're learning, you can learn really inexpensively. And then if you want to play in a bigger pool, then you go to Ethereum mainnet. So that's what the vision is. But we do plan, for example, to deploy it on ETH as well, just because ETH is just such a sandbox today. I mean, everybody got their tokens. I mean, of course, like I have some USDC, and that USDC on ETH is worth nothing, but yet you can still play with it. So I think being inclusive with a project is much better than being exclusive, like specifically to be very, very chain centric. Like we could have said we just want to be on the Ethereum mainnet, just so that we can maintain the purity. But the matter of the fact is, the fact of the matter is that the Binance is huge, right? PulseChain obviously has a great community. Right now we're on PulseChain testnet, and PulseChain testnet is actually minting Zen at much higher rate than Ethereum mainnet, regardless of the cost, because the cost of testnet is nothing. You just go to a faucet and get your test ether and or test pulse. And but the PulseChain community just happens to be more engaged. So that's really cool, and I'm really happy that that's happening. So, yeah.
I like the idea of it being on ETHW. I'm a fan, and we were actually just playing around with some naming conventions today, and I was thinking that for me personally, I think a good idea is to have the letter after the code, like the short code, the letter after it is the chain that you are actually on, and the letter before it is the chain where the token came from, if it's a synthetic one that's over. But what I wanted to ask specifically to what you were just talking about is, I sort of thought that the idea here was to attempt at least to have sort of encourage or attempt to have only one claim per person. But it sounds like if it's across multiple chains, it almost sounds like it's encouraging people to claim it on each chain. Or is there some way that you'll make it so that if you've claimed a certain address on one chain, then it'll stop you from claiming on other chains with that same address? Or
Absolutely not. We will encourage people to claim on any chains they want. The same way that you can buy hacks on ETHPOW with a different address, and nobody will stop you. The same way you should be able to participate in Zen. And again, I think Ethereum is still going to remain the largest chain out there with the most value. But everywhere else, I mean, if you decide to mint it everywhere, I mean, you can do it, but ultimately it wastes your time to do it. You may as well just choose one that you want. We will also encourage people to mint with multiple wallets. So multiple wallets are allowed per person. So you can start with 10 wallets, 100 wallets. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, the gas fees is what will stop you from overdoing it. So that's the idea.
Okay, that's something that I misunderstood. That I thought the idea was to attempt to have sort of a one person, one claim distribution, or that
you can't
or that
do it on blockchain. Yeah, you
you
can't do it
can't.
on
That's right.
blockchain
You can't
because of the address convention.
The
It is
pseudo
just
anonymity.
impossible. I
Yep.
mean, think
Yep.
about it. Like, what if we said that we're gonna do KYC to do that, right?
I'm against
And
that. Yeah.
and me too, right? It's not part of the first principles of crypto. In crypto, you get benefits from the amount of work or attention that you have spent on the protocol. So somebody is minting with 100 wallets, they're paying 100 more in gas. So if each transaction is $5, they're paying 500 to begin with. Then the claim phase, they pay another, like, let's say $3. So they just spent, close to $1,000. Should they get more Zen? Absolutely, because they have done more work and they have paid for the validators on the Ethereum mainnet. So everybody wins.
Well, that works on high fee chains, but all the low fee chains, someone could just go nuts and in terms of the time. So it is time and money, and that's something I was thinking that someone doesn't want to sit there changing, cycling through wallet addresses. Because it costs you your time as well. So, but I mean, I guess that depends on how people value their time and what country they're living in and that sort of thing. There's a Richard Hart quote that sort of popped into my mind as we've been talking about this, where he says that even if you were, and I know this is not, you've just said that this is not necessarily or it's not a mission statement of this coin to try and get even distribution, but Richard was saying that even if you were able to distribute a crypto or any form of currency or asset across all humans in this world equally, the economic energy would actually eventually gravitate back to the people who are entrepreneurial and the people who bring the most value or whatever reason. Maybe it's not necessarily just that, but there are sort of attributes of humans where money will flow to them more readily than others, and so then you'll end up with centralized wealth or more centralized wealth, regardless of how you start the system state.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's just the property of being human. Some of us want to watch Netflix all day and play video games, and some of us want to, build and come up with crazy ideas. I mean, like think of Vitalik, right? So like that guy is, I mean, so interesting and so strange at the same time. But he gave us a sandbox to play with an enormous economic energy creator, right? So we should all be thankful for him to come up with this, right? So that's what he did was incredible.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to add is that if someone has to make a choice between KYC or allowing people to be able to double claim, myself, I'm firmly in the camp of not invading people's privacy and going with I've got strict crypto ethics is what I call it, crypto ethics, and so that's quite important to me. But so the other thing in terms of distribution, I was thinking, because we're so early, the other side of it is that there's not a huge percentage of the world's population that even know about how to interact with crypto more than just say like going on an exchange and buying some. Whereas there's a slight technical barrier of someone's technical ability to go and be able to use the software that would be required to make this claim. And I guess that's part of the education process, which is what you're aiming to do, is to actually educate people how to interact with these chains and give them an incentive to do so.
It certainly is. So what I'm thinking is that we just ended the bull market. We entered into a bear market. Another bull market will come. And what happened in the last bull market is that a lot of people who were not in crypto, didn't hold any coin, they were attracted to entities like Celsius with KYCs and everything. And under the guise of being an investors in crypto, they pretty much got all of their fiat and economic energy sucked out of them, right? So what we are attempting to do is we're attempting to educate people first and foremost what self-custody is and why it's important in crypto, because that is really the underlying basic principle that everybody should understand. So for the future, when somebody like Celsius comes about and they'll say, hey, make this mad interest on your money because it's crypto, the question will be in people's minds, okay, we know what self-custody is. Are we going to fall for this trick again? So that is one of the goals, is that to provide people with education so that they can gain safety against the predatory activities of the people who are saying banks are bad, we're better, and we're crypto, when they're really not. So
Yeah, that's another favorite Richard Hart quote of mine, where he says, our made up imaginary internet money is better than the government's made up imaginary internet money. So the main focus of this is the fairness of the launch. It's the fairness of the accessibility at the start, compared to probably the vast majority of projects that do not have that. In fact, I'm probably struggling to think of any projects. There have been various different mechanisms by which people have attempted to find ways to distribute tokens. Uniswap was an example where they retrospectively looked at who had used their protocol, and then they airdropped to those people. Getting some slight echo. Sorry about that. If that is achieved, if that part of it is achieved, then where does the demand side come from? So that's the supply side, in terms of how the supply is distributed, and people have minted these coins or airdropped these coins to themselves. Once the system's up and going, where does the demand for the token come from?
okay, so this is actually one of my favorite questions, because it is so not obvious, and yet once we dive deep into it, it becomes very, very clear. So the value comes from the simple fact is that if you look at the adoption curve, and it goes exponential just because of the network effect, you start thinking about the Metcalfe's law. And Metcalfe's law sounds like something where the square root of the participants of the network is the value of the network. And so what happens is that obviously the ability to virtually mine, because that's what it is, it's a virtual mining with time. It requires you to wait. So you're learning delayed gratification, you're mining with time. The longer you wait, the more you make, right? Over that period of time, there is more and more people getting onboarded, which will actually indicate to the protocol that there is more activity, which will induce the value. Now, let's say that you're a newcomer into the protocol, and you're seeing that we're adding 1 million people every month. For the sake of argument, let's say that's the case. Now, you could start minting and specify a month, 2 months, or 3 months to mint with, or to mint with time, or you can go with Uniswap and buy somebody else's time with a premium. Now, the reason to buy it, which is the buying pressure, would be is that you're trading instant ownership for somebody's time who already spent virtually minting this cryptocurrency. So you're advancing. It's almost like you're buying a future. So like there's futures traded on oil barrels that will be delivered in a month. This is very similar. You're buying a token or a cryptocurrency that allows you to basically buy somebody else's time. And the time to make the same amount of Zen increasing pretty much every month. Actually, every day, there is more time required to mint the same amount. So the economic pressure and the reduction, which causes the cryptocurrency to be disinflationary, will push the value towards a camp that simply will say, I don't want to wait 100 days because I'm going to miss out on the price appreciation and all that engagement of new people. I will simply just buy. So that is how I think about it.
So can I just clarify something for me? Do you choose that time period when you run the mint function? Do you actually specify that time period and then you're locked into that as a fixed period, or can you alter it? Is there any kind of penalty structure for if you, like, how in Hex, if you don't do exactly what you say, you can bail but you get penalized? Is this something where once you've said it, it's set in concrete, or
Once you set it, it's part of the data structure. It cannot be altered. The only way that you can make any changes is to come in with a new wallet, pay more gas, and start minting for, let's say, 30 days versus 90 days that you have decided with the first wallet. But you cannot alter either of the two.
is there a, sorry about that. Is there a minimum? Is it, can I do one where I just say I want the coins right away and get a smaller amount, or there's actually a minimum set time?
1 day, 24 hours.
Nice. Okay, so yeah, okay, so there's a time component here that I also wasn't aware of. That's interesting. So, I may have run out of questions for now. If there's anyone else in the chat that has a question, and then I'm gonna run over and just grab my usual sort of like general interview form that I normally hit people with to see if there's any other questions that I usually use to interrogate. Or Jack, if you think that there's anything that hasn't been covered yet.
Yeah, so sure. I mean, I'm just glad to talk to you guys. I mean, you guys are such a great bunch. You know, the Hexagon community. I started, so I wasn't a YouTuber before. Like, I have no YouTube channel. I didn't even know how to use Telegram well. This is my second time I'm actually talking on Telegram chat like that. So in just few months, since I came back to Twitter, and I wasn't on Twitter for like maybe 7 years, I come back to Twitter. I have 350,000 followers. I guess they accumulated, and I learned about PulseChain, and I got interested. And then I learned about Richard, and all of a sudden, people asking me to stream with them, and it was just such a welcoming thing. I mean, you guys literally made me popular. Like I was basically nobody knew I existed. I didn't know I existed, and here we are. We have a community of 5,000 people. There's different countries coming up. Our white paper has been translated into numerous languages, into Polish, Italian is being done. Vietnamese channel is formed, and the white paper is translated to Vietnamese. Czech Republic is getting on board. It's like literally today, so it's so awesome. So I'm so excited about this.
That is incredible. You know, I think it's something that gets neglected a lot is the other cultures and other countries. It does happen where people do the Western echo chamber, Silicon Valley, and major Western countries. I just noticed one of my things that I normally ask about is audits. Has the code been audited? It's something that's pretty big in the Hex community about code audits.
It's pretty big for me as well. So the audit is currently in progress, and we're going to get a preliminary report on the 28th of September from the company called Certec.
Oh yeah, we've heard of Certec.
Yeah, they did a lot of coins, a lot of tokens. They seem to be very professional. I was also working with Zokio, but we just chose Certec because they were bigger.
And is the entire team doxed, or you have some anonymous people? I mean, I guess just you yourself is enough of a well-known name.
We don't have any anonymous people. Everybody uses their real names. And here's the reason for being undoxed. Generally, when you launch a project and you hold a giant bag of 90% or more, you're afraid for your life, right? You're afraid that people gonna hate you or come to your house or do whatever to you. Now, I don't have those problems because I don't have any coins. Like, I have nothing. And soon I will have no control of the protocol that will be launched and is open source. So the only thing I have is my voice and the presentation of the ideas, and those ideas are pretty much unstoppable, and they're not worth anything unless the community forms around it. So I have no problem being myself and being visible.
And is there anyone on the team that has, as you know, anywhere near as epic a resume as yourself?
I didn't. Nobody asked me that question before. Well, it's hard to be an early Googler, right? So I got lucky to meet the founders at Stanford. No one else is from Google. However, I do have another friend that is interested in participating in foundation. He's actually a person I hired at Google. He's number 35 at Google, or was 35 at Google, and he's a VC right now, and he's into crypto. He loves the project, and we're talking about it. So he's not yet officially on board, but um, there is basically what I have is access to the people who may be participating in the future once this thing launches from Google, just the early 50 people, basically.
Yeah, cool. Looking through this question list that I usually use to interview people, one of the big ones is convince me that this project is different by explaining, about the use case and that sort of thing. And obviously, you've already answered that, and it's a quite a powerful one, because I've been in crypto a long time, and I'm struggling to think. So, earlier I said that a lot of projects have claimed to want this task of being fair. It's I guess it's one of those buzzwords that, along with AI and certain things, that to try and I guess like convince people that what you're doing is for the greater good, and it is for the little guy, and it is to try and lift up the lower socioeconomic people in the world. But then it almost always, and in fact always in all the examples I can think of, ends up just being that. It's just like an empty words that don't end up actually amounting to anything else other than the back of the founders getting rich, right? Like, as in that if they're holding a big bag of the token and they can get the adoption, then they get super rich. So
Right.
so that's quite a massive one. And one of the other questions is like response from the Hex community, because typically the projects that I'm interviewing are PulseChain projects, and you said that you've already had high success on the PulseChain testnet, hey?
Yeah, we have. So we launched on Ethereum mainnet 3 days prior to launching on Pulse testnet. I'm sorry, what I meant to say is testnet. And Pulse, the links are there. It's PulseChain dash Zen dash .vercel.app. So it's available in our group, so you guys can play with it. Works great. I think over 20 million Zen tokens have been minted already, and even more of them, well, not more, but more than half were staked. So there's a staking function. It pays 20%. It teaches people how to stake and what staking is. There's no penalties to unstake, except you don't get your APY. So you can stake for 1,000 days maximum or 1 day minimum. And let's say that you decide to get your Zen back, just pay a little bit of a gas fee, get your Zen back. There's no penalty for early withdrawal. You just do not get your APY. If you wait until maturity, you can get your APY right there.
Yep. Actually, I just thought of another question. It was something that on the stream that I was watching, of what made me realize that you were the real Jack. They noticed, as they were looking at your Twitter, that there's a big difference in the number of followers that you personally have and the number of followers that the project has, and the number of people in the Telegram group currently. Do you have a sense of why that might be?
There's a very basic explanation. I've been on Twitter since, I forget, if you can look it up. It's like 2010, maybe 2009. So I've been on Twitter, but I was inactive, right? So all of those people that accumulated, they may not even be alive at this point. Like, it's just a counter of people following me. So the Zen's crypto Twitter handle was created 2 weeks ago. So it is a fresh account that just got people in the last couple of weeks, right? So
that is very recent.
Yeah. So 350,000 people, I would say a good number of them, they probably don't even know who I am at this point. Just because
there would have been
they
people who would have
accumulated.
been following you for your OG-ness, like your Google OG-ness. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. People were just looking at LinkedIn, clicking follow, that sort of thing.
Okay, so you'd say but you would expect that over time, because, and that was going to be my next question in terms of how long those socials have existed, because that makes a massive difference. You know, you can't expect. Some people don't even look at their stuff every week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's probably why, and I think that's everything from, I was looking through my questions and realized that we've effectively covered all of the things I normally ask to try and grill. I think this highlights when you have an actual legitimate, well, when you have like what I perceive to be a legitimate project that doesn't have the cash grab. A lot of my interview questions are typically interrogating about why they need the token, why they need admin keys, why they need these certain aspects of things that are normally perceived as being a cash grab to enrich founders. But once you remove all of that and you say we don't have a team allocation, we are literally participating. We are participating just on an equal footing as everyone else, then a lot of my interrogation goes out the window. I guess the question then becomes, and you've sort of already answered this, is why do it at all then when typically most people launch crypto projects to get rich? But although we actually have seen one example within the Hex community was a project that you may have heard of called Maxi, where that was done with no benefit to the founding team and founding members and devs, that it was literally just code launched to benefit the community. So we do see that, but I'm kind of like with this, I'm making this statement broadly and excluding the Hex community because there is a lot of benevolence and generosity within the Hex community itself. But in general, but you've already answered that, right? That you genuinely want to see a crypto that is broadly adopted, that people can use, believing that they're not enriching people who are already rich without enriching the VCs, without feeling like they got in late compared to other people. That all of those aspects just make someone feel better about the experience and more likely to get involved. Because it's one of the biggest questions in crypto when people are like, am I too late to get in? Is one of the things that people used to ask me about Bitcoin a lot.
Yeah, well, I think to answer your question simply is that you can actually make the world better with crypto. You can. Like, it's a lot of it is ideological. So we want, as a group, to have people have the sovereignty over their assets. Period. Right. So we don't want people to be consumed by the globalization and the ideas of World Economic Forum, where you own nothing and you're happy, and they own everything and they're even happier, right? So we want people give the ability to practice the control over their economic energy. That's first and foremost, and this is great for the world, right? And there's no better cause to stand behind something like that. But obviously, I mean, besides that, in my life, I've been inspired by a lot of interesting, amazing people smarter than me. So Larry Page, for example, started Google. He didn't start Google to become instantly rich. Like, Google actually developed AdSense and AdWords as an afterthought to the search engine. Originally, the search engine was the desire was to give people ability to search and find information developed and created by other people, connecting the world's knowledge to the people who want to gain it, and they have achieved that, and that made the world better. Then Elon Musk, for example, he was, you know, rich AF, right? Even after PayPal, he spent all of his money. So he had $300 million in his bank account. He spent all of it on Tesla, and he gave the world electric cars, not just through Tesla, but by changing the status quo, by telling everyone that electric cars could be amazing. Now, like I'm actually driving Audi e-tron, an amazing electric car. I love it. It's an SUV. I feel like it's almost better than Tesla, right? But if it wasn't for Tesla, we wouldn't have availability of electric vehicles out there. And so that's awesome. So he spent all of his money on Tesla. And besides that, he multiplied it by launching space rockets into space that can land themselves. That's amazing too, right? So that is a person actually who became the richest person in the world without thinking how to become rich. So it's almost like an after effect of you're making the world better. So there's no greater cost than that.
Yeah, I've seen those Audi electric vehicles. They look nuts. I was just thinking about monetary, but I agree with what you're saying as well in general, and I think it's good life advice that it's when it'd be the same with like being successful with females and stuff like that. It's when you're trying the hardest to try to go straight to the goal is when you're going to have the least success. It's when you're not, like, rather than focusing on the end goal, it's more about something else that you're actually trying to do good, trying to add value, trying to do the right thing. And then that's where you're more likely to actually just get your goal gets achieved, or the thing that you wanted, your desires get achieved as a side effect rather than as a like a direct targeted approach. Not always, but often.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about, so I'm gonna go Bitcoin maxi hat on and say, one of the things that people love, or one of the things that Bitcoiners love about Bitcoin, is the fixed monetary supply. With this particular coin, did you have to run models to try and work out because it wouldn't have a maximum cap, but it might have a maximum rate at which, although actually no, it wouldn't, because you could have theoretically infinite addresses that are mining or minting at the same time. So it doesn't have a theoretical cap, does it?
It doesn't have a cap, but you're stopped by the fact that you pay more and more gas. So if you abuse the network, you actually will drive the value so much higher than it would actually make sense just to buy it on Uniswap. Now, the rate of emission settles at 2%, and that's the end of it. So after 8 years, 2% is the most you can get from whatever that you buy or you mint. And you're done.
It does have a capped inflation eventually.
The inflation becomes capped at 2%, so it's very disinflationary. So it just have a long runtime. It's a shorter runtime than Bitcoin. But I will tell you that a lot of people are fixated on the supply, and that's an invalid assumption that it actually drives the value. The value does not come from the limited supply. The value comes from the differential between engagement of new people into the currency versus the supply that is being created. So that is where the value is. So if you don't have the people, it doesn't matter what your supply is. Your supply could be 100 and it's still worth 0, right? So it's really about engagement, right? And ultimately, like, listen, Bitcoin has a cap supply, but it has 18 zeros. So depends on how you're computing your level, right? You can have infinite fractionality of Bitcoin, and but you could argue that you can get in early, and that matters. But it matters everywhere, right? It matters everywhere because you're not getting in early on the supply. You're getting in early on the adoption. So you probably remember how Richard often talks about that the best time to get in is when the liquidity is the lowest. That's actually not the cause or the benefit of being there on time. It's an after effect of low adoption. So low supply and low liquidity in the beginning just basically means that the project has just started. That's all it means.
It increases the volatility, so you can get like mad temporary pumps,
or you can buy it at the wrong time and you lose everything.
But if you want sustained upward movement, you are right that you need increased adoption. You need increased awareness and adoption. Yep.
Ultimately, it's like this: if you go from 0 to 1, the adaption is infinity. So the closer you are to zero, the more infinite your gains may be, even if it just moves to
In
one.
percentage terms. Yes, yes, yeah.
Right. But what really matters is whether the idea is adapted by the world en masse and gives the value to the representation, which is the cryptocurrency itself. So cryptocurrency is the representation of the value of the community through the Metcalfe law. It's true for everything.
Something I do like that I just thought of is we all know, especially in this community, that people love free coins, right? People love free coins, and in this respect, it's got the advertising or the marketing pitch of you can get this crypto for free, but then there actually is an actual cost associated with it that people don't really think of, especially people in crypto are so used to just paying gas fees. It's just a cost that you incur to interact with the network. And you know that money is not going, you're not paying it to a third party. You're not enriching someone else. So there's not that dirty feeling that someone's getting mad rich from someone paying that person, lots of people paying that person a small amount. So
Exactly.
It's kind of an interesting or unique structure where there is a payment, but it's not the type that people get upset about, and then there's still that ability to convince people or to give the pitch that you're getting involved for free, in inverted quotes.
Right. So when you go into Ethereum, you're paying your gas fee to help the network to be more secure. That is the case. I mean, it's literally a distributed way where your economic energy is spread across the validators. There's no better way to spend your money than to give meaning to the network, right? Because it gives stability and meaning to all of the projects out there. And but as a thought experiment, let's say that there was no gas fee and the network was secure just by default. You would still, even though it feels like you're not paying any dollars, your attention and your time is still worth something to the network because you have done the action. You have now you've been counted as a participant. So everybody else are understanding that there's one more person or 100 more people or a million more people participating, and that gives value. And also the time that you spend thinking about it, coming back to the protocol to claim your crypto is actually worth time and therefore your attention and therefore economic energy because you're not working in a factory at the point when you're actually clicking mint button, right? I mean, we're not at the point where we're all working like ferrets, right? But still, so
So again, with the Bitcoiner line of reasoning, is there, so Bitcoiners believe that Bitcoin has got the best chance of becoming the world reserve asset, that it's the I guess the most adopted and the most recognized and that sort of thing. Do you think that there's potential that in the future this would compete against Bitcoin in any of those aspects, or is this trying to be something completely different? Would it be that Bitcoin would be the store of value and then this would be the day-to-day currency that is more I guess what I'm really asking is, how would you pitch a Bitcoiner in explaining to them why either your coin, that this is going to be better than Bitcoin, which is like a cliche, or why it's complementary to Bitcoin? Like you can choose either how you want to pitch it, either A or B, and then how would you pitch?
I think it's definitely complementary. It goes back to the Satoshi's paper where he actually wanted Bitcoin to be a peer-to-peer cash. So this is something that you could use as cash because you can have a very good understanding how much it cost you to begin with. Like specifically, you have spent 100 days virtually mining this crypto. So this is worth to you, and you establish its the price in a sense what it meant, right? What it meant in your ability to spend the time. So this is something that we want, obviously, peer-to-peer cash. We want it to ultimately be better than Doge, better than Shiba, but also onboard people that are not currently being onboarded just because they don't want to buy the top, so they don't want to buy into the volatility. Like, think about it. I would say Doge, you can't really mine it. I mean, you can, but as a normie, you're not gonna like install a mining rig and mine Litecoin with Dogecoin in parallel. You're just not gonna do that. Now, this is something that you can do by simply installing a wallet and interacting with a contract. You just need to learn a couple of steps, right? So this is the next level of virtual mining that's being created for regular people. And so that is the big difference. Now, going back to Bitcoin, Bitcoin is kind of like gold and diamonds. This is something that you hold in your safe. You don't move it around too much. You don't travel with it. You don't break it apart into pieces and spend. But Bitcoin acts as a buffer, as a layer of stored economic energy that you can potentially exchange into Zen back and forth. So we benefit Bitcoin by bringing more people in, and Bitcoin holders benefit us by providing liquidity. So it's very complementary.
Yeah, with the mining, I've noticed not only is there sort of technical barriers to entry and hardware costs, but also I've noticed there's this attitude where people, and we even see this sometimes with staking opportunities and other DeFi opportunities, where people say, oh, well, this isn't immediately making me rich, or this isn't immediately profitable. And with mining, often it's a speculative play that you're mining something that you perceive may have future value, and you expend the capital expenditure and also the electricity cost for something that you perceive will go up more in the future. So and so people have got that level of impatience. They want mad gains. They want instant gratification in crypto because they heard their friend got rich quick. And so at least with your one, there's no ongoing expenditure in terms of electricity cost. There's no it doesn't suffer from that same attitude where someone has to either go and buy hardware or perceive that they're mining at a loss for a period of time with the potential future gains in the future. It's almost like a free ability to make it. So it's a free speculation.
Yeah, except I wouldn't even call it a speculation. This is your chance to get into crypto pretty much for free. And even when you pay gas, if you never paid gas before, this is a learning opportunity to understand what gas really means.
Yeah. That's actually true. I know that I would have absolutely zero problem encouraging in real life no coiners in my life to be involved with this, and that is a very difficult standard to meet for a crypto project. So that's an endorsement that
Thank you.
typically there's not a lot of crypto projects where I would tell my friends who are not familiar with crypto that it would be a good idea for them to get involved, because for various reasons, but predominantly to do with potential for I don't want people to have hurt feelings and them to mentally blame me for it. So it's always a high risk when you're onboarding normies that you could end up losing a friend, right? That's the potential cost. You know, on the upside, if they get rich, you're not going to get a cut, but on the downside, if they get upset enough about it, you're going to lose a friend. So you're not really incentivized typically to encourage your friends to participate in the same cryptos as you. I know that there'll be some people that heavily disagree with what I'm saying right now, but that's the way that I typically think about it. Whereas with this, I would have absolutely zero problem. And like you said, it's also a great introduction for them to start to understand, and that it looks as though that is going to be the most typical way that we are interacting with this idea of Web3 is through some sort of in-browser wallet and using it to linked to some kind of website. That's going to be a learning experience that people are going to need to understand within the next half decade. Otherwise, they're just going to get left behind.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I would say it's really about aligned incentives, and this idea doesn't just belong to anyone. It belongs to everyone. So if you believe that people should learn about crypto, should understand what gas is, should understand what self-custody is, and you stand for the first principles of crypto, which everyone really should be, unless we're scammers, then we're just helping everyone, right? So this idea belongs to the world, and we should all participate in it, because nobody is getting rich on the idea, but we're all collectively helping each other across the crypto universe. So that's awesome, and together we can make the world better.
So I'm going to open up the if you've got time, only if you've got time.
Yeah.
I'm going to open
Yeah,
up.
I got
I'm sure
time.
there must be at least some people in here who have been dying to either comment or clarify or disagree with something that one of us has said. So if anyone, I think you guys can actually just unmute yourselves. We've got, oh yeah, Jack. No, that's you, and that's me. Okay. Well, we must have done quite a good job then. Anyone?
No, I do have a question
Yeah,
here,
yeah, I have,
Tangent
yeah.
and Jack. Hey, top of the morning or afternoon to everybody. But hey, just real quick question: where can we get a little bit more information in regards to Zen there, Jack or Tangent?
So I would say zencrypto.io is a very well made website. It was done by a volunteer. That's one option. So zencrypto.io.
And that's spelled with an X, guys.
XEN crypto, no dashes, .io, like input and output. So that's one way. The other way is just join our Telegram talk. It's called Zen Crypto Talk, and just join it. And there is a lot of programmable links that you can follow to learn all about it. Alternatively, go to my Twitter account, and all of the links are linked in my profile.
This website actually is tight in terms of visually and interactively.
Yeah, and if you guys want to watch, if you want to watch videos of me streaming with the community, go to jacklevin.com. All of my videos are linked on the link tree. jacklevin.com.
I think there was one other person that was trying to ask a question as well.
Yeah, hi, Jake. I'm just having one question regarding when the minting period ends. There is a 7-day period when you can come back, and the burn of your claimed or minted token goes down exponentially over the 7 days. My question is, how is it accounted for? Do they get completely burned if somebody doesn't come and claim them back, and they disappear from the total supply, or they don't even get accounted for unless you come and mint them?
So the Zen crypto comes into being by someone actually claiming the mint. So pressing the mint is what mints the crypto. If you do not come back for it within 7 days, that function just disappears, and there would have been no supply to begin with and no supply to be deleted. So you make the supply bigger by claiming. If you don't claim, there's no supply.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
So the most difficult part in a project is to market it to the people. How are you going to spread the XEN word to the world?
I think you can stop a project, but you cannot stop the idea. The idea is like in the movie Inception. So we are experiencing inception of a sort with this project. I think everybody who are relatively sane and wants their friends to be better and themselves to be better and the world to be better are aligned and have incentives to talk about it. So since the idea is something that can spread even faster than the blockchain, I am a firm believer of exponential network adoption. In just 3 weeks, our Telegram channels have gained over almost 4,000 people, and nobody's talking about the price. Nobody's talking about the pumps or the dumps or this and that. People talk about amazing things you can do with crypto, which is incredible. And I think all of that unifies us as humans that want to do better and want everybody to be better. So I think the idea will market itself, assuming our incentives are aligned, and I think they are.
Yeah, nice. So can I just confirm, are there some chains that the contract has been launched on at all? Or no chains?
There was no launch on
No,
mainnet
no
anywhere.
chains. Okay, so no chains. Not even those other low fee chains. Okay, cool. Also,
Yeah.
time frame wise, do you have a time frame in mind for launch?
So this is the plan. So the plan is to get the audit done, which we will get the preliminary report on the 28th of September. We'll fix any bugs that they find or make any improvements. It should take a couple of days. And afterwards, we'll probably have 3, 4, 5-day countdown with our website showing the seconds counting down to 0. That will give people an ample time to prepare and not have a feeling that the project launched and they're late for it, or somebody else is already, minting, mining, and doing whatever. And obviously, we will be holding more streams, and we'll be doing Twitter Spaces before we actually launch. And then once the numbers, the seconds go down to 0 and everything is 0, we'll push the button, and hopefully it will launch on Ethereum mainnet to begin with. We're gonna double check to make sure everything is working. If things are working, then we will launch on Polygon, Binance, potentially Avalanche, and ETHPOW, just so that, because you guys like it so much, so we'll launch it there too.
That would be amazing. I would certainly appreciate that. And that sounds like a decent list to me. Like I can't think of any chains that I would want that you haven't listed, and I can't think of any, and there's nothing in that list that I'm, significantly against enough to try to encourage you to not launch on. You know what I mean? Like, so that sounds like a decent list.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good.
Can I ask a question, please? I
Go
was
ahead.
just wondering, with the multi-chain, are you considering using Stargate at all?
So Stargate, is my understanding, is basically a bridge that provides dynamic pricing for the cryptocurrencies that exist on different chains. So obviously that is the future, assuming it's works better than static bridges. And I totally see, for example, Zen created on Ethereum mainnet to be 100 times more valuable than Polygon, for example, maybe even 1,000 times more. Because if we look at Matic and we compare it to the cost of Ether, we can see more than 1,000 difference. So if those ratios are to be maintained, then potentially somebody should be able to trade 10 Zen for 10,000 Zen across chain. Once the technology becomes solid, then I don't see that not to be the case. We're all about inclusiveness, and I don't like exclusiveness or any sort of exclusive clubs. So a lot of people ask me, they're like, "Hey, this sounds like a great idea. Why don't you come up with your own blockchain?" And listen, I understand the feeling for having your own blockchain, because having your own blockchain is basically creating another piece of a pie, a segment that belongs to you, that you control, right? Or for your followers, that's like your own little, nightclub that nobody else is invited, and you have this feeling of ownership, right? I understand that, but I think with this project, we really want to be inclusive, right? So the project belongs to most of the chains out there that are legitimate, and there's no reason to create more chains just to make it more exclusive. So that's kind of like the philosophical answer.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had a question, but I've forgotten it.
It's late in Australia, isn't it? Isn't like almost 3 a.m. soon?
Because I'm on the West Coast, so it's only 1:40 a.m.
Oh, not bad, not bad.
So yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, that's sorry, I've remembered what it is. So I imagine that there's not going to be a massive difference in that early stage. For example, if someone's a day late to start their minting process compared to someone that does it at literally the second that the clock finishes, it's not going to be a massive benefit to be, a day earlier, is it? Because it's going to be a linear process. So you'd only be, one day.
It's mostly linear. Yeah, it's mostly linear. Let me give you an example. If you're late by a year, you would be making 10% less than you would have been if you were a year earlier. So only 10% penalty for a year.
Oh yeah, so that's lower than what like real inflation, in fact, even admitted inflation by governments now is getting to that kind of percentage. Not that that's the same thing, but in terms of, just to put it in perspective for people, in terms of what 10% is in a year, it's ballpark what is allowed to be accepted as a change in, even just in pricing, even though this is going in the other direction, right? Because you're at a 10% disadvantage a year later so then I guess they magnify each other because you're late by a year, 10%, and then also things are 10% more expensive. But not that this is your only income source. You get what I mean? I wasn't trying to draw a direct analogy or parallel. I was just more talking about how people could kind of put 10% in perspective, so that it doesn't sound that crazy as a difference over a year.
Right. I mean, obviously the run rate is about 8 years. So in 4 years, you would be minting 50% less.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Any other questions from anyone? There's been like a solid 50 people in here that's been rotating through while we've been here, or even just comments.
Yeah, I had a comment and a question. I thought it was a quotable moment when Jack was talking about the penalties, and he just mentioned, it's out of context, but he said, if you want your Zen back. And I know that like some of the core narrative of Zen seems to be aligned with a narrative that's come up over the last couple of years in the X community about how it's, a very like staked and hands off is a very valid strategy. It may be possible to outperform, but it's not exactly easy to outperform just staking and holding. So I thought that was cool. I was in a space with Jack once, maybe about a month ago, and I made the joke like that. Most cynical hexicans, as soon as they, like myself, it's just our internal cynicism that as soon as we heard about, that a coin was coming out, I was like, oh, okay, that's the inside track, come around the community, get, rub elbows with everybody, and then release the coin, And so I, like I said, cynically assumed that at that point that this is a project that had been in the works for months, and Jack at the time had said, that wasn't the case. So my clarification, just since there's other people here, I figured it'd be worth bringing up because I'm sure I'm not the only person. It's the only person on this side thinking it. But so would you say that the inspiration for Zen was 1000% brand new and like kind of brought to the surface by the community joking about, in the YouTube chat joking like win Jack coin, things like that? Or is it
That's
more
exact.
of like a cumulative effect of your journey from Bitcoin to the present, and then it was just kind of like brought to the surface by the jokes?
That's a difficult question to answer. I mean, ultimately, listen, I didn't think I was popular before I met you guys, like literally. So the launching crypto was not even on my mind, like literally 3 months ago. And you can see by faircrypto.org, that website has been registered in early July. It didn't exist before. The concept did not exist. On one of the streams, I forget who it was with, but the comments were literally scrolling and people were asking, when is Jack coin? And I was drinking apple cider vinegar at the time, diluted, obviously. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to call it ACV, apple cider vinegar. And the whole Twitter just exploded. And people were like showing me their refrigerator full of apple cider vinegar and saying, hey, look, proof of vinegar protocol. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So, we were joking about this for like a week. And then I thought, well, I keep talking about first principles. What if I just encode the first principles into the coin itself and then launch it? Like, wouldn't that be a representation where everybody can participate in first principles by minting their own coins? So that was the setup. So the inspiration did come from you guys, actually. I just have the time to do it, and so I'm doing it.
Oh, that's so awesome to hear. I'm interested to hear, how has it been received by Bitcoiners so far, if they're aware of it? Have you had Bitcoiners, because in our community, there's an accusation that gets made towards the Bitcoin community that they're very, very close-minded to anything that is Bitcoin. They've hardened their opinion against anything that's not Bitcoin over the years. And it's partly not their fault. It's partly because so many scams get launched in crypto. So many scams. Oh my days. That they have got to a point where they're just like, I don't want to look at projects anymore. I'm just going to literally assume that everything is a scam. That's the kind of the accusation of Bitcoin maxis. So have you had any interactions, either good or bad, with any BTC maxis?
Yeah, so I've been to meetups and conferences with Bitcoin maxis and people. I mean, like, listen, if you're launching anything on Ethereum, you're already depreciated in their eyes anyway. Now, if you launch something without ownership and there is like no supply, and you're saying you're gonna be something potentially better than Bitcoin, that's adding insult to injury. So imagine the reaction, right?
The other problem, it goes back to what you're saying about how if you try to do something that's not on one of these existing smart contract layers, then you have to have mining involved. You have to actually, it's going to be a blockchain, and then there's going to be accusations of who was mining early, and then you get those problems of people like early miners. Even if it was available for everyone to mine, people will still potentially call it a pre-mine because not many people were mining on the network and that sort of thing. And running your own chain it makes it much harder in terms of 51% attacks on new chains. So, Bitcoiners, you typically say that launching your own chain now is actually very dangerous and typically destined to fail. So I wonder what their solution would be if they want all. I guess their solution would be like, don't do anything, just use Bitcoin. That would be a Bitcoin maxis solution. But if you ask them to paint a picture of what the ultimate crypto would be, you're right that it would involve all these things that are impractical to the point that I don't think you could really make it happen. But that's something you're absolutely right, that as soon as it's on Ethereum, to them, or any EVM compatible chain, to them it is an instant deal breaker.
Right, exactly. And I think being a maxi on Bitcoin, it's kind of an oxymoron. They want the world adoption, yet they do not want to take any steps to actually use their Bitcoin for that, for any sort of useful activity. So they want to get rich, and somebody else is adapting the cryptocurrency, which is incredible.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Jack. I was sitting here for like 5 minutes trying to find the camera button. It's right in my face.
Okay, there we go.
You guys got your face on screen, and I was talking, so I thought I'd show my face. But yeah, thanks for the question. I know that you've answered that personally to me, and I was personally satisfied with your answer last time. But since it was in my mind, I figured in a group this size that at least one other person would have thought, oh, okay, here's Jack, here's the hook. He just coming around
awesome.
to chill his Zen coin. So that's really
cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, are we going to post the recording here in the chat? I've actually never done a Telegram recording before.
Same. This is my first one, but it tells me it's recording. I hope it actually is being recorded. It says it's recording. But
I saw that. I didn't see.
Do you know where it ends up getting stored?
No idea. I didn't see anybody roger up for recording, so I started a screen recording on my laptop, but it rugged after like 15 minutes. So I'm glad that hopefully this works. So I'm taking off. Thanks everybody.
Oh, cheers, Bob.
I have a question, just one question, if I can ask. So, are you going to do a rolling release? Because I know it's going to be multi-chain, Ethereum, Polygon, PulseChain, POW. Are you going to launch them like once a week? Or are they going to launch at the exact same time on all chains? Like, what's the plan there?
I think probably it's going to launch with the delay of 24 hours per chain, maybe 48 hours. Just so that my dev team can produce quality interfaces that work. So we just want to make sure Ethereum works really well, and then we're just going to go to Polygon and then Binance BSC, and obviously ETHPOW too. I mean, ETHPOW, it's kind of a sandbox that nobody expects anything serious anyway. Or at least it's so early, right? It's just been like a week and a half. So there, I think we can launch pretty much right away because, hey, it's an experimental chain anyhow. So why not?
Yeah, there's also Ethereum Fair. I'm on there. I'm running RPC support for it. It's basically identical to Ethereum PAL, but it has less MITRE adoption.
Bro, you know what I mean? Bro, against the rules. Against the rules.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong chat. Talk about that one.
Forgot where you're at.
I'm in like 50 chats, dude. Sorry.
Another question I wanted to ask you, Jack, was, and this is to do with the chat that we've just had. How did you find that parts of this were fresh, that you haven't, like, you know, how much of this was like you just repeating what you've had to explain to other people on other chats? And how much of it was kind of things that were like different or subtly different? Was this an interesting conversation, or was this like a total repetition?
It was definitely, there was some similar questions, but in this case, we talked about value creation a lot more, and philosophy and ideology. And I feel like there was more resonance on the underlying principles and the reasons why. So that's a little bit different. And I appreciate that sort of interaction, obviously, because it lets other people understand the genesis of the whole idea and why it may or may not be amazing for the world.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I think we might be have taken up enough of your time. You've been incredibly generous with your time. I highly appreciate it. Everyone here appreciates it. And I think, you know, aside from really liking the overall ethics of your project, I'm also really happy to hear that you have been welcomed into the community, and that, you know, and that you've identified that, you know, the enthusiasm and the you know, the attitudes towards people that are in this community, which it's hard to even define specifically what this community is anymore, because it has, obviously, with all the things that are going on, it's kind of morphed into all these different things. I guess in general, the general name is like RH maximalists. but there's some blurred edges. There's some blurred edges around the place as well. So any other question? Any other final questions?
Yes.
Hey, Jack.
Oh, whoa, two.
Stardust goes first.
Why XN over Lightning? Bitcoin on Lightning.
Bitcoin on Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem with Bitcoin is that it's not as well dispersed, or people are not capable of making it for themselves, right? So what I really want to do is I want people to create their own crypto, bring it to the world, and have a feeling that when you buy Zen from someone else, you're actually buying it from the community, and you don't have to like buy mining gear and spend thousands of dollars, waste electricity, pollute the environment. So it's different. It's fresh, it's new, low barrier to entry. So I think, and I think Ethereum is just overall better. Like I kind of don't really like Bitcoin. I mean, I liked it when it first came out, but I just don't like it the way it is now. It's very, very exclusive for the people, and that's why there's so many maxis out there. And people come up with all kinds of silly reasons why wasting electricity is a good idea. Like, it's ridiculous. So Ethereum just switched to POS, proof of stake. Awesome. That's 99.95% less electricity being wasted. So we're all benefit. The world benefits, the planet benefits. And I think that's actually one of the first principles of crypto as well. Like, you do not need to waste energy to produce meaningful value.
That is actually something that we are going to have to agree to disagree on, but I don't want to get into a debate on it right now. I think the arguments against proof of work is FUD, like the energy FUD. And there's all sorts of arguments. You would have heard me actually debating, you heard my debate with Richard Hart, where I went through and tried my best to give my side of, or the sort of that side of the argument in terms of, stranded energy and renewable energy and that sort of thing, and the trade-offs that occur when you move to something that doesn't have that security model. But I guess like we don't need to debate it right now. But I think there was, unless you want. So you're on Richard. You agree with Richard Hart on that, in that respect, that you think it's a waste of energy to do proof of work consensus algorithms.
So number one thing that I think is that the Bitcoin value is not even real. And the reason why I say that is because 60% of Bitcoin is traded on centralized exchanges. The value there is pumped and dumped daily, and people are chugging away at fiat. So there's a lot of on-ramps into those systems that is pumping Bitcoin. And it is debatable that the actual creation of Bitcoin through the proof of work is what's giving its value, rather than the world's inflationary liquidity that is just pumping it because it was one of the earlier projects. And so my feeling is that there is less security to the Bitcoin value than we think, just because there's so many trades are happening off-chain. So I am a proponent of trading and giving value to on-chain transactions, because that's where the true crypto is. Anything that's traded off-chain is very speculative in nature, and we can all agree, like all of those trading houses, they all coming up with ways to gamify the value and win against the people, right? So I don't agree with that. Unfortunately, Bitcoin has 60% of its trading volume right there, and we don't even ever have any idea what the true volume really is. And so that's one of my problems. But that, even if that was not an issue, the other issue is that it's very difficult for a normal person to mine anything. So you just end up buying Bitcoin, or that is the only way to get in. And most often, you're not going to buy it on the chain. You're going to buy it through going somewhere else. I mean, you can go to Uniswap and you can buy Raft Bitcoin, but unfortunately, Raft Bitcoin (WBTC) is now a derivative of the 60% of the off-chain action. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, you know, that first point you made is very epic. It's up there with one of the best. It's up there with some of the best criticisms I've ever heard of Bitcoin. It's not one that Richard Hart has ever raised, even though he's very mouthy in terms of again making points against Bitcoin. And you are 100% right that the price that we see is an average across centralized exchanges who are notorious for all sorts of shenanigans that dating right back to the very first ever exchange. And this is not just in crypto. Legacy have these problems as well with with all sorts of, you know, fraudulent manipulations and things like that. But I wouldn't trust these exchanges to not be doing weird shit in the background. And really, it comes down to the only thing that then protects us, the only thing that protects against that is if everyone was to remove their coins off exchange and they were faking the price, like if they were faking it down, it would create a supply shock. That there is an ability to audit the supply, the users, in terms of like that whole proof of keys idea. It would be the only way to do it, because and you're right that on-chain volume, and this is something the Hex community promotes, is on-chain volume is on-chain trading is the real trading where you can't fake it. It's because it's on-chain, whereas these exchanges are not to be trusted, and Bitcoin doesn't have. And I agree with you that I'm not really a fan. So I also agree with wrapped Bitcoin that I'm not really a fan of it, and it's not. Yeah, so that's pretty hardcore accusation that I'm gonna have to go away and think about and discuss with some Bitcoin and get the maxis to convince me that it's not either that it's not a problem, or that because that's a tough one to rebut, really.
Yeah, well, have them prove to you that the price on the centralized exchanges is not being manipulated. And if it's not, then I'll believe that the Bitcoin value is actually where it is.
Yeah, and I mean, even if so one potential counter would be to say that, well, they would have to all be collaborating and you know, they would have to all be faking it, but that's not really the case, because, and now I'm countering my own counter, because you typically have these large scale exchanges that the prices on the other exchanges will fall in line with that. Like that they'll kind of, although I guess you have ARB bots and things like that would.
Yeah, the bots make it make the price to be pretty much equal. You know how what's his name, the FTX guy?
Yeah,
Samuel.
Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah. So I mean, he made his millions first by flying to Japan and buying cheap Bitcoin, coming back, selling it in US, right? So that's before the ARB bots. Now you cannot do it, but back then you could argue it was much more difficult to run price manipulation, and it was more dispersed among the participants. So it was it was closer to being on chain than what it is now.
Yeah, and the other example was the kimchi premium, where there was a premium for coins in Korea, but that was much more difficult to arb because for obvious reasons. But yeah, this is, I mean, yeah, that's when you've got these large exchanges that can. And once people believe that that's the price, then they're obviously willing to participate and trade around that level. So you will get people putting real orders in. So I mean, you know, it goes all the way back to that whole. There was the Willy bot or whatever on Mount Gox that was allegedly was faking the price or driving it up. Then there was the whole Bitfinex Tether FUD where they were supposedly printing Tether and then just using that to pump the price. And then there can just be outright the manipulation that you're talking about, where they can literally just say that the price is that and fake the order book, and then until real orders come in because people believe the price. That's pretty hectic. But I'll fire that idea at some Bitcoiners and see what they come back with. I mean, I'm sure they'll have some answer. They will.
Okay. Well, it will be really curious to see what they say.
I'm not saying their answer will be legit, like it'll be a good answer. I'm just saying they'll have to have some kind of answer. Otherwise their heads will break. Like, as in they, you know what I mean? Like, as in they're going to have to convince themselves that it's okay. They'll have to have some reason. They'll have to have some reasoning that they can make, that they can comfort themselves with, even if it's not.
I would call
legit.
it cognitive dissonance. That's what I would call it.
I was literally just about to say that would be one of the potential options. Like that's what it. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. If that's the case. So, did I hear one more person that was waiting to ask a question?
Yo, how's it going? I've actually got. First of all, I can follow on from tangent there with the Bitcoin mining part. Could we then say that multi-use devices such as GPUs following Ethereum proof of work and an inflation mechanism to protect the whole buy and hold and control the flow, that would be a better idea and more decentralized from a protection mechanism because it's not centralized assets?
Okay, is that a question or a statement?
Probably a theory and what you would think on that.
Oh, what do I think about Ethereum? And the proof
also to follow
stake.
the mining aspect of it, to lead these Bitcoin maxis that are proof of work kind of thing, right? To take what you say and say that the price is manipulated. And I believe that would be because you can just buy and hold it all and control it. Where Ethereum has an inflation mechanism which kind of defeats that. So it gives it more of a true price towards the power, the cost to mine it.
So I would say Ethereum has a lot of mechanisms. One is that half of your gas is burned. So that's actually deflationary for Ethereum, which is awesome. Secondly, if you look at Ethereum and you look at the Ethereum universe, and you can say, let's assume that not just the market cap of Ethereum itself, but the market cap and the usability and total number of users that are using Ethereum for their projects altogether, this decentralization is just epic. So, like, in other words, a lot of, like, Hex, for example, right? So Hex is not traded on centralized exchanges. So it is a decentralized coin or crypto out there. And there's many like that. And that actually gives people more of a chance to understand what the first principles of crypto and blockchain really are. You can go to nomics and you can sort by the transparency, whatever is being traded on chain, and then you can make a choice, which is educated. Will you be participating in a project that is somehow being pumped and dumped on KuCoin or not? Like, for example, when Luna stopped its chain, which was a Tendermint derivative, KuCoin came up with Luna Classic Futures, which has nothing to do with Luna and nothing to do with the chain. Like, the chain was actually stopped, but it was still traded on KuCoin with 100x leverage futures, plus all kinds of games that they were playing. Like, literally, you play a game to predict Luna Classic value, and then you're going to get like $1,000, something like that. So they were actively enticing to move an asset that didn't even exist on chain anywhere. So I think that is so far removed from what we are trying to achieve with crypto and blockchain technology in general. And I'm firmly against that sort of action, unless you understand what you're doing and you want to play in a casino, and you're fully cognizant that you are in a casino, right? And then it's fine. You can totally play with that. And hey, I mean, I like playing in casinos sometimes. I play poker. I go to Vegas. Cool. So KuCoin is kind of like a digital Vegas, right? Or FTX or Binance or whatnot. So, but you have to understand what the difference is between true blockchain, true smart contracts out there traded on chain versus all of those other things.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you. The next question was, I was just clicking around as you were talking. I noticed it was associated with faircrypto.org. And then that kind of got me thinking on how does this, is this kind of like an idea that you want to protect from being like copy pasted over and over and over again? Is there some kind of, like, is the code open source completely, or is it protected at some point, like open source to be viewed?
The code is open source. It's MIT license and it belongs to the people, essentially. I do not claim the ownership to the code because the idea really should belong to the people in general. So people can launch their own projects, and my website, faircrypto.org, will represent them should they follow the first principles of crypto.
I mean, in terms of, well, this seems more like a new programmable time game idea. So whilst everyone can come up with new ideas, is there going to be a way to protect this from just being copy pasted?
I think it should be copy. It should be copy pasted. It should be copy pasted. And I would agree that that's a great idea to do it, as long as people are not being scammed. Like if somebody says, "Oh, look, I'm launching Fair Crypto 2 with Zen with XX, and it's doing this, this, and this," but then there is the OA wallet that's getting 10% of all of the transactions. So that would not be in line, and I would speak against it.
Something I was just thinking is that one of the protections that so one of the criticisms in crypto that Bitcoin gets, every crypto gets, is like, what's stopping me from just taking this and just copying it, right? In this case, this is one of very few projects where the protection against someone doing that is there's no financial incentive. The person copying it, like you said, as long as they're not copying it in a way where they're trying to modify it and scam people, there's no financial incentive for someone to try and do a copycat version of this project.
Unless they're scammers.
No one gets enriched, because the original project didn't enrich anyone, which means a direct copy also won't enrich anyone. So it's a level of protection against copycatting that you don't typically get in crypto.
Well, if there were 10 more projects just like this, I would be happy, because that actually means that there's more people coming to crypto, and all of the cryptocurrencies that you're holding likely will get appreciation. So I am all for people building interesting projects. In fact, the way that we have built our smart contract is that it's extendable for various DeFi protocols that can use Zen to be adapted into their financial flow. So like, for example, we have built in this thing called proof of burn. So proof of burn is an interface that can be used by other protocols to, for example, mint NFTs. So if you burn, let's say, 1 million Zen, you can get an NFT that's worth exactly 1 million, and the blockchain will confirm that you have truly burned and reduced supply. So you help the value of Zen, and then you're getting an NFT that's tradable. So
I think Engine had an idea like that, where they had NFTs, like in-game NFTs, that could be sort of like injected with the fungible Engine token, so that not only the NFT might have value because someone wants to use that in-game item, but then it also has that like underlying value, you could say, that someone could. And I think you were also able to like melt the item down and get that engine back out. Will your ones be able to do that as well, where you can go back the other way?
No, you cannot go back the other way, because
Okay.
the mint
That's
function
fine.
is is set up only to connect to time in the tokenomics and protocol the way it's designed. However, I think it would be cool if you could trade proof of burn certificates. That would be pretty amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like really, if you're holding a 10 million Zen proof of burn certificate and you're selling it on OpenSea for $1,000, I think that's great. I think that gets the NFT crowd in to play with it, because you can literally generate as many NFTs as you want, and the more Zen you burn, the more valuable your NFT is.
Can you add it into an existing NFT? Like if I had some like Pokegan and I wanted to like add underlying value to it, could you burn this token into someone else's NFT project, or does that not work?
Well, that depends on the project. So if the project is extendable and it can do a lookup on blockchain to see if the action of burn did happen, and then does something. Like for example,
cool.
Axie Infinity could actually use Zen tokens to create a super animal that got upgraded with Zen that's been burned with the Zen protocol, right? So like superpowers right there. So they could come up with that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, yep. Any other questions? So there was a question in our chat, but I think Gina actually asked it indirectly about the open sourceness was one of the questions that came up in chat. But I think if there's no other questions, we should probably let you get on with your day.
All right. Yeah, it was a great conversation. I'm glad that you can see me as a real person now, and I'm a real Jack Levin.
No, this has been great. Really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me, and I'll see you guys in line, and definitely join our chat group and follow the project, and watch out for the next 2 weeks for the upcoming launch.
Yeah, I was just about to say I've joined that group, and so everyone, if you want to check out that Telegram group. In fact, Jack, if you want to drop the link for it in our Telegram group, our ETHW chat group, and you'll obviously keep our group up to date when it's time for this chain to be on the launch profile. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, cool. I'll be here, and I'll tell you guys as soon as it's go time.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Okay, thanks, Tangent.
Cheers, Jack. Bye.
Cheers.